Welcome to Conspiracies Condensed, where history's most controversial secrets are uncovered, analyzed, and exposed. From government cover-ups to declassified experiments, we dive deep into the conspiracies that turned out to be true. You've heard of the Vietnam War, but what you haven't heard is what happened in the shadows. Torture, blacklists, assassinations, funded, trained, and executed under a single name, the Phoenix Program. This isn't fiction, it's classified history. It was never on the evening news. No uniform, no medals, no body counts. But in the jungles of Vietnam, a new kind of war was unfolding. One not fought with tanks or jets, but with fear, silence, and denial. It was called the Phoenix Program. Officially, it was meant to dismantle the Viet Cong infrastructure. Unofficially, it became a campaign of torture, terror, and targeted assassination. Run by the CIA and South Vietnamese forces, the Phoenix Program operated deep in the shadows, eliminating suspected enemies without trial, often based on weak or false intelligence. And for years, it was kept quiet, until the truth started leaking out. In the early stages of the Vietnam War, U.S. officials realized they weren't just fighting guerrilla soldiers. They were fighting an invisible political network. The Viet Cong worked within villages, hidden among civilians. They didn't wear uniforms. They didn't need bases. To counter this, the CIA created a new kind of war machine, the Plan. Identify Viet Cong sympathizers and systematically dismantle their support structure. The method: interrogation, infiltration, and elimination. The program was initially called Declassified, but by 1968 it had a new name, Phoenix. Its goal? Neutralize the enemy from within. Its tools? Secret prisons, blacklists, and death squads. Phoenix was built on intelligence. U.S. operatives, working with South Vietnamese officials, compiled lists of suspected communists. Names were collected through informants, interrogations, and often through bribes or local rivalries. Once a name made the list, the suspect could be arrested, tortured for more names, imprisoned indefinitely, or executed. No trial, no appeal. The program operated outside legal norms. Many of its facilities were unofficial, detention centers run by military intelligence and police units. The suspected guilty were treated as insurgents, but many were civilians. The line between truth and accusation blurred and vanished. Between 1968 and 1972, more than 80,000 people were neutralized. Of those, over 26,000 were killed. The term neutralized was intentionally vague. Some were captured, some were converted, but many simply disappeared. Entire families were implicated. Children watched parents dragged away. Communities lived in fear. The program was praised by some U.S. commanders for its efficiency, but criticized by others for its brutality and backlash. The question remained: how many of those eliminated were actual threats? And how many were just unlucky names on a list? At the heart of Phoenix was intelligence extraction, and that meant interrogation. In many centers, torture was standard procedure. Electric shocks, waterboarding, beatings, and psychological abuse were used to break suspects. In some cases, confessions were extracted after hours of abuse. In others, they were fabricated just to make it stop. Some detainees never made it out alive. U.S. personnel often oversaw operations while claiming plausible deniability. The brutality wasn't rogue. It was built into the system. As one former CIA officer put it, if you weren't getting results, you weren't trying hard enough. In 1971, the lid started to lift. Journalists and congressional investigators began asking questions. Former operatives testified. Survivors spoke out. Hearings revealed a chilling pattern. The Phoenix Program wasn't a rogue operation. It was official U.S. policy. Funded, trained, and guided by American intelligence. Critics labeled it a war crime. Supporters called it necessary. Either way, the public was horrified. The moral line America thought it stood on had been crossed, and many wondered if it could ever be reclaimed. As the Vietnam War wound down, the Phoenix program quietly dissolved. Its operatives moved on, the facilities were emptied, and the dead were buried, without trials, without names, without records. But the legacy remained. Many former Phoenix officers went on to serve in other conflicts: Latin America, the Middle East, even post-9/11 operations. The blueprint of Phoenix, blacklists, covert raids, enhanced interrogation, never really disappeared. It simply evolved, and so did the silence. The Phoenix program is more than a chapter in Cold War history. It's a warning. It showed how a democratic nation, when pushed by fear and desperation, can justify the unjustifiable. It revealed how intelligence agencies, unchecked, can become machines of terror. And it proved that truth, when buried long enough, begins to rot. The ghosts of Phoenix still haunt today's wars, and until we confront them, they will keep rising. They said it was necessary, but necessary doesn't mean moral, and victory doesn't erase the victims. The Phoenix program may be over, but its blueprint still echoes through modern warfare. Like, subscribe, and stay alert. The truth doesn't bury easy. They tried to keep it hidden. They tried to keep you silent. Scan the codes. Find out what they didn't want you to know.